So this lady is a qualified coach. She's a motivational speaker and stand-up comic. She spent a decade in marketing. She's a founder and MD of Raw Training. Kirsty travels the world speaking at conferences to tens and thousands of people. I've seen you on YouTube. I've seen the size of some of your crowds. It's amazing to see. She's a #1 bestseller on Amazon for her book, The Future of Freelance. I also spotted you on Good Morning TV during the pandemic. I turned the TV on, he was arguing with some guy on Good Morning TV, which was pretty cool. And then you was one of my favourite talks from Love Inbound 2020 as well. So please, let's welcome back Kirsty Hughes to the stage.
I've managed to turn it on. That's a good start. Okay, hi everybody. I'm not going to run through the housekeeping again. All right, I'll just start. So I'll do a quick introduction to me. I mean, that was pretty robust, actually. So it's nice to be here. My name's Kirsty Hustle. I spoke at the last one of these, which was like a week before the world went to shit. So it is super, super nice to be back. Do we have my... there it is. Okay, so I am going to kick off and I'm going to be talking about bravery and risk to kind of get you going for a day of learning and motivation and inspiration. I want to start by telling you a quick story. In 2016, I was working in SEO. I'd worked in search for years. I'd worked in agencies for years. And a good friend of mine was the head of SEO at Virgin Atlantic. And he texted me and he said, we need a new agency. Who should we use? And I said, I mean, there aren't any amazing agencies at the moment, actually. Why don't you get loads of people to work remotely, like get them to collaborate, and then they do a really good job? And he was like, well, that seems like a good idea. Why don't you just come in and pitch for that business? Why don't you start up your own business? And I was like, no. I had absolutely no interest in setting up my own business, but I am quite a curious person and I like to learn. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go along to this pitch anyway, just for the learning experience. So I decided, without a team, without a business, without a website, without any qualifications to be there, to go and pitch for a global SEO contract for the big brand Virgin Atlantic. Anyway, I decided to do it, and I was stood in a stairwell, much like this, just before the pitch, crying my eyes out. Because I was like, what are you doing, Kirsty? Why are you here? I was pitching against some of the biggest, best agencies in the world, and it was just me and my idea that if you let people work remotely, that might be a good thing. And so I was stood in the stairwell, and I was crying. And it was about 20 minutes before I was meant to go to the pitch. And I was like, I'm just going to leave. I'm just going to bottle it. I'm going to go. This is really embarrassing. This is awful. What am I doing? And I rang my mum, Val, and I was like, Mum, I'm going. I'm off. And she went, my mum has an expression which is live life for the story. She was like, just do it for the bloody story, Kirst. And she's always said that to me, live life for the story. She didn't like me living life for the story when I was experimenting with recreational marijuana in my teens. But she does like living life for the story, so I was like, whatever. So I went in, I pitched, again, just me, my idea. I had no team, I had nothing. I won the pitch. I don't know how. I think because, actually I do know how. Virgin is a brand that supports an underdog. They like startups. So they were like, what is this? So basically, I, at that point then, before I even had a business, before I had a team, before I had creds, before I had anything, suddenly had a huge contract, a global contract. Now, when the people in this room will know this, when you work with clients, when you work with big brands, you have to go through a little process called procurement. So I had to, I've got some laughs, people are like, oh, I know. So I was having to answer questions like, do you have a robust global security protocol? And being like, I have a Gmail tab open in my browser. This is what we're dealing with. So I did that. This was a pure exercise in not being ready. I wasn't ready. By any stretch, I wasn't ready to do that. I quickly had to hire a team. For the first few months, we did a really dog shit job. We really did, because we weren't ready. But eventually, we kind of started working better. I founded an agency at that point, and it just started going. We retained that client for years. We had a really good working relationship with Virgin for a long time. They took a chance on me, something I will always, always be grateful for. But I want to talk today about this idea of risk. Because I work with a lot of people who will say, I'm not ready to do that. And I'm like, well, I certainly wasn't ready to do that. Okay. So, when I first started, at this point, so I ran my agency, did that for a few years. And then in 2017-ish, I started giving free presentation training to women to help level the playing field. At that point, I realized that was kind of my jam. I went to stage school, which I think you can so tell, right? Went to stage school, did stand-up for years. And so for the past few years, I've trained thousands of people to be more confident, to take risks, and this is kind of what I do now. So I'm a motivational speaker and a trainer. Anyway, so when I first started my new business, Raw Training, I asked 700 people, have you ever said no to something that you actually wanted to do because you were too nervous? As a percentage for me, shout out, have some guesses, how many of us said no to something that we actually wanted to do because we were too nervous as a percentage? And there's going to be a prize, by the way, for whoever gets it. 70%, thank you for shouting out over here. What do we think? Okay, lovely, 100. Go on? 90, what's your name? John. John, you win. And it's 96%. So 90, by the way, the prize is a sense of personal pride. The best prize of them all. Okay, so 96% of us have said no to something that we actually wanted to do because we were too nervous. Now, when I was doing this analysis, I got the stats back and I was a little bit pissed. And I was sat at my desk and I just went, not on my watch. I also said, have you ever not shared an idea in a meeting in case it was stupid? Have you ever not shared an idea in a meeting in case it was stupid? As a percentage, how many? Okay, we've got 100%. That one, that's 99%. So that's like basically everyone apart from that one guy. So basically 99% of us are not sharing our ideas in meetings. Now, as someone who ran an agency, I know, now I don't know you, but I do know that you're a little bit strange. And I know that sometimes you think weird things and you have weird ideas. And you think about what would it be like if a pig had wings or something. Now, I believe the ideas that we don't share are the good ones. These are the good ones. So I have really spent a lot of time trying to make it so that more of us say yes to things that we actually want to do, and more of us understand that ideas have value, that we're allowed to share them, even if we do think they're a little bit weird. Because it makes my heart very sad that basically all of us are not sharing our ideas because we're embarrassed. Because it's all of us are doing it. Okay, so this morning I'm going to talk about what it actually means to be confident. You can take the word confident and replace it with success, whatever works for you. How to feel as though you and your ideas have value. How to speak up on meetings, on stages, if that's your jam, or online. Crucially, how to feel safer and more comfortable in groups. Let's go. Okay, so I teach confidence, right? At this point, I've trained maybe 15,000 people on how to be more confident. And we talk about confidence a lot in the workplace. The benefits of confidence are really varied. Research has shown that people who are more confident make more money. I mean, that's annoying, but it's true. It means we're more likely to get promotions, we're more likely to succeed. So confidence is a skill. I use the word skill intentionally. That really, really is important and valuable to nurture. But I think we have an idea of what it means to be confident, or what it means to be successful, or what it means to be professional, or really, if we speak in human terms, what it means to be good enough, that's really, really broken. I think we have an internalized idea of what confidence is that's a total dumpster fire. And I think because it's a dumpster fire, that's why 96% of us aren't doing things that we want to. 99% of us aren't sharing our ideas. Because we think there's a confidence thing that we need to learn to be, and we're not doing it properly. So there are three things that I think get in the way of our ability to be confident. First, we see it as a fixed trait, and we're going to talk about these. We see it as a fixed trait. We think it's binary, and our language in the workplace, especially in marketing, we'll talk about this in a minute, is really, really messy. Okay. So we see it as a fixed trait. So raise your hand for me if you've ever, at any point in your life, thought about yourself, I'm not a confident person. Thank you. Okay, basically all of us. Thank you for your honesty. I'm not a confident person. Shout out who this is for me. Okay, someone got it really fast. I did this the other day for a team of, I can't remember what industry they worked in, but I was like, tell me who this is, and they were all like, but I knew you'd know it today because I'm with my nerds. I'm with the nerds, yay! So basically, I'm just going to walk you through some data. So on a scale from not confident at all to very confident, where would you rate yourself? I've trained about 15,000 people on confidence. Every time I train them, I ask them this question. So I have an Excel spreadsheet with around 10,000 rows of data in of people talking about what confidence is, whether they feel it, whether they feel as though they're allowed to be it, whether they even like it. So I want to walk you through this now. So 8.5% of us say not confident at all. So a fairly small amount, 8.5% of us go, nope, not me, I'm not confident. And then about 40% of us say mostly not confident. So that's 48.5%. Like, that's basically half. Basically, half of the people you're interacting with day to day actively identify as not being a confident person. And then we have another 32%, which is unsure. So 32% of us are going, I don't know if I'm a confident person. If you ask someone if they're confident, they go, I don't know, me, I'm not sure. We'll put them in the no camp. And then you have 12%, which say kind of confident. At this point, I've been nurturing the skill of confidence for years. I'd probably put myself in this camp. And then we have what I very lovingly call the sociopathic 7. So the sociopathic 7 are the ones who would go, I'm very, very confident, I'm a very confident person. By the way, I just want to do a nod at this point. This is a mixed data set. Can anyone, I'm just going to see, can anyone guess what happens to these stats if you just extrapolate out the men? Any guesses? Ha, it's not what you think, actually. So I think when I say, can you guess what happens if you just extrapolate out the men, people assume it will go, oh, we think we're really confident. Actually, no, it kind of stays the same, but the uncertainty really goes up. So you've got a bunch of men being like, I don't know, like the equivalent of like, where are my socks, babe? So like, it doesn't really change, actually. And I've mixed this data set up in lots of different ways, and it's pretty statistically significant, tens of thousands of people. So what this means is most of us think we're not confident, which we kind of illustrated when you raised your hand for me, or haven't got a clue what it even means. If I said to you now, I want you to picture in your head a super confident, assertive person, think of someone really confident and assertive. Have you got someone in your head? Has any one of you thought of just I think you have, just an absolute arsehole, someone that you just don't like? I did this the other day and someone was like, oh my God, I thought of Lord Sugar. So we have this idea of what confidence is and it's a bit icky. So most of us worry that we're a bit shit. Race, gender, social, economic status, well-being, ability, toxic bosses, difficult parents, trauma, influences to what degree? I think this idea that on some level we're not good enough is a big human unifier. I'll tell you a story about this. A few weeks ago, I got invited to do some confidence training for some senior leaders at an investment bank. They were an equity firm investment bank. And so I was like, I've been asked to do confidence training for the senior team at an investment bank. And I was like, this is going to be awful. They're not going to like me. They are not going to like my style. I don't have anything to say to them. I can't connect with them. But I am a feminist, and they're an investment bank, so I was like, I'm just going to charge them a shit ton of cold, hard cash. So I did it, and then I went into the city. I went into Canary Wharf, and I was like, this is going to be awful. I'm going to hate it. I'm going to hate it. I'm going to hate it. And I walked in, and I started their training in the same way I start every training. I asked people the question, if this was valuable for you, what would be different at the end? And so I was in the room. Now I want you to picture what a room of senior leaders at an investment bank looked like. Yes, you are correct. That's what it looked like. The person sitting to my right was Nigel, of course he was. And Nigel said to me, Nigel was like, you know, I manage portfolios in the billions. And I was like, oh, here we go. Here's bloody Nigel. So I manage portfolios in the billions. And sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down. But actually, that's kind of made me really scared since the pandemic. And I used to find it really easy to have these conversations, but there's something about this that it was just really horrible and difficult for people. Next to them, someone said, I've got 5 kids, and I'm really stressed at home, and I know sometimes I bring that into work. The person next to him said, I think I'm really confident, but I know there's people on my team who get stressed, and I want to help them. The person next to him went, I just sometimes worry that I'm not actually as good as I'm meant to be for this level of seniority. And I was stood in this room, and I was like, shit, there's my bias. And so we have it in different levels, in different ways, but I want to hold out a hand of compassion. I don't know you, I don't know where you come from, but I do know that at some point, some of you felt not good enough. We all experience it. We all experience it. Okay. So, and I believe the reason we experience it is because we're shooting for something that doesn't exist. We've got this definition of confidence. If you search the dictionary definition of confidence, does anyone want to guess for me what the dictionary definition of confidence is? Just a guess. Weird question, I don't know why you would. The dictionary definition of confidence is firm, unwavering, without doubt. I can't even order Chinese. Firm, unwavering, and without doubt. So we've got this idea that confidence is like, we don't have doubt, I am firm, I am not questioning myself. Of course that isn't it. Of course that isn't it. So the first thing I want to say is there isn't a right way to be confident. There are no rules as to how you should stand, dress, or show up. There are no rules as to how you should speak. There are no rules as to what it means to be professional. I'm informal, I'm a bit silly, I'm a bit playful. I have always been like this. Even when I was managing large enterprise clients, I would go and, IBM was one of our clients, for example, and I would go into the senior team at IBM and I would swear and I would make jokes, and it was fine because we are humans. So there is no rules as to how you should stand, dress, and show up, because confidence is a feeling. So raise your hands for me now if you've ever at some point in your life felt the feeling of confidence. All of us have. All of us have. Congratulations, you're confident people. You are already confident people because it isn't a personality trait. It isn't this fixed trait that some people have and other people don't. So we're already confident. So this idea that you're not a confident person isn't true. That's when we assume confidence is a bolt, an out there thing. You know the expression, that person's a really confident person? People will say that to me. They'll go, oh, I'm not a confident person. And I'll be like, you are, though. But we're in a pub and it's a Thursday night, so we're not going to get into it. I'm off the clock. But the thing is, everyone's confident. The difference is some people can access it in a certain range of situations. So I can feel confident standing on a stage, you might not. I am, however, absolutely terrified of escalators. I also get a little bit awkward one-on-one. So networking, my idea of hell. People always say to me, can you come and do talks on how to network? And I'm like, I can try, but I hate it. Because confidence is circumstantial, it's a feeling that goes up and down. So it's not us that's failing, we've got a shitty definition of what confidence is. So for me, confidence is just you being a bit more you, whatever that looks like. Whatever that looks like, whatever that feels like, whatever that sounds like for you. Let me add a little bit more data to this. So, from those thousands of people that I've asked that question to, I asked them a very weird, strange, abstract question, which is, who is confident you? If I asked you to describe a confident person now, you might say things like this. So some people think confidence is calm. I'm not bringing you any calm energy. I'm not a calm presenter. Some people say it's passionate, it's energetic. Some people say it's funny. Some people say it's serious. Some people say it's informal. Some people like to use humor. Some people don't. It's also cultural. There are no rules as to what confidence is. So if you do one thing after this talk and for the rest of the day, and you think about how you feel, how you talk, how you stand, how you express when you're feeling confident, then I've done my job. Because this is my style of confidence, but yours might be really different. Some people, for them, their confidence is really quiet. Have you ever been in a meeting and you've been sitting there and there's someone in the room who just sits there silently the whole time? They don't say anything, and then at the end they go, okay, thank you. Shit's confidence. We don't have to, confidence isn't this, I've got to be assertive and I've got to say loads of stuff. So confidence is not a fixed trait. It's not a personality type. You don't get confident people. Confidence is a feeling that we all have access to. So I really want you to leave today knowing that you're already a confident person. And all I can do, hopefully today, is give you permission to access that feeling a little bit more and help you understand how to do it. So the second issue with confidence is we think it's binary. We think it's either or, zeros and ones. So let me introduce you to Vera. Vera is my nan. Here she is in this photo. She used to work in a munitions factory in Stoke-on-Trent in the Second World War. She was great, Vera. She had a fantastic sense of humour, a very dark sense of humour. I was very close to her. She was a spiritualist medium poet. She was weird. She was a weird woman. The apple did not fall far from the tree there. And So we were close, and then when I was about 6 years old, 6, 7 years old, she got diagnosed with leukemia, probably from working in the munitions factories. And so she was in a hospice, so she was in end-of-life care. I was a young child, and I used to go in and talk to her. And she was in a bed, and next to Vera was Agnes. Now, Vera and Agnes were both dying, and they formed a really close friendship. A kind of friendship that I just can't even imagine what that must have been like, to be friends with someone like in the last few months of your life. And so I used to go and like sit on this little chair in between them and listen to them talk and hear their stories. And there was one day when the waiter, not a waiter, it was a hospice, not the Savoy, when the nurse came over and asked them what they wanted to eat. And Vera said, "Oh, I'm not very hungry, I'll just have a cheese sandwich." And Agnes said, "Oh, I'm actually pretty hungry today. I'm going to have the roast. I'm going to have the roast dinner." So they were chatting away, they were eating, and the food arrived, and suddenly, out of nowhere, Agnes falls face down in her dinner. She died. Like, Agnes had died in her dinner. And so I was like, is she dead? Like, I'm like 6. And suddenly my nan looks down at me and she went, "Well, I'm glad I didn't have the lamb." So, excellent dark humor that you can only get like in a certain generation. So the reason I tell you that story, is that a sad story or is it a funny story? Or is it a bit of both? It's both. Like, have you ever been to a funeral that's both really sad but also really funny and also quite warm and also quite enjoyable? At my granddad's funeral, my dad has 2 brothers. It's me and my dad's called Greg. He's got a brother called Clive. It was me that organised the funeral, and I thought it would be absolutely hilarious to tell the vicar that he had a 3rd brother called Barry, which he didn't. But the vicar kept going, Greg, Clive, and Barry. And my dad was like, "Who's Barry?" And it was so funny. And me and all my brothers were laughing. And it's just that potent mix of things being sad and funny all at the same time. Because we think of life as being binary. Happy, sad, good, bad, right, wrong, yes, no. It isn't. Life isn't like that. It's much more complex than that. Things are rarely binary. The truth is nearly always in the middle. We know this. But we think of this in confidence. So I studied philosophy. Don't know why. I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I was 17 years old. I think I thought that if I studied philosophy, I'd just spend 3 years sitting in a beret, reading poetry, smoking weed. I thought that was all I would do. And to be honest, that is what I did. I had a nice time. I didn't learn very much, but I did learn about this thing called false dichotomy. Anyone heard of this? So, yes, you nodded. What's a false dichotomy? Yes, lovely. When you think there's only 2 arguments, but there's at least a third, articulated much better than I would have done. So we think a false dichotomy is when we think option A, option B, but there's many, many, many other options. The most ridiculous example of a false dichotomy I can remember is years ago, early in his presidency, George W. Bush said, you either love America or you're a terrorist. Like, false dichotomy, George. There are a few other options. Okay, but we have been given a false dichotomy when it comes to confidence, because we think it's this. We think that it's confident or nervous. We think that if we feel nervous, if we feel scared, if we're worried about doing the thing, if we feel a bit overwhelmed, that somehow negates our confidence. Is that fair? Does that resonate? So we think that if we feel nervous, that makes us not confident. And we think this in the workplace. The amount of people that come up to me and go, "I am so scared of public speaking." And I go, yes, it is scary. Because the fact that things are scary doesn't negate the fact that we're confident. I'm going to give you a second just to read that. I'm not going to read it out. Got it? So this was the 21st of June, 2018, the day after my birthday, the first day I had got paid to stand on a stage and speak. So that's like a whole thing. I got on the stage, I did my talk, and then I got off stage, stood in the audience, and sent that text to my then husband, separate story, to my then husband. And I read it back, and it's just so strange in that kind of kills me, because that was my first ever panic attack. I wish I could go back to 2018 me and go, it's not strange, you're really stressed, you're really overwhelmed, you're having a panic attack. By the way, there's about to be a pandemic and you're going to have literally loads. So I'm someone, I don't know about you, but I'm someone who experiences anxiety, sometimes very greatly, sometimes not so much. I go through phases where I get very anxious, where I get very stressed, where I get very overwhelmed. I'm sure some of you do too. This is my job. My day job is to stand on stages, to train confidence, to go into companies and tell them how to be confident. Sometimes I do that absolutely petrified. So I just want to ask you the question, because I'm a person who experiences anxiety, I can get stressed quite quickly. Does that make me more or less confident that it's also my day job to be a speaker, to stand on stages and to be a confidence trainer? It doesn't negate it, because it's confident and nervous. It's both. Confidence isn't this on-off binary thing. You are a complex human being. I know you are capable of feeling two emotions at the exact same time. So you can be nervous and be confident. So the next time you feel nervous or scared, or can I do this, I'm not sure, the next time you need to pitch your ideas to a senior stakeholder or whatever it is, the next time you're sitting in a meeting going, I'm not going to share this idea because it looks stupid, please remember that you can be both things. Does that resonate? Thank you. Okay, because nerves are not something we have instead of confidence, they are something we have as well as confidence. This is my life motto, scared and ready. That's all we ever can be. In my line of work, I think people assume that I'm going to get rid of the scared and. Well, that would be boring, wouldn't it? So life really is just about being scared about the things that we're doing and doing it anyway. I created something called the well, yeah method. So earlier it was referenced that I was on this morning. I don't know if any of you saw it. It was really awful. So basically, in 2020, my business really struggled, like a lot of our businesses did. So and my dad was sick. So I temporarily moved back in with my parents in Stoke-on-Trent to save a bit of money and take care of my dad. During this time, I got an email saying, do you want to be on this morning to argue with someone about the benefits of remote working? And I was like, do I want to be in front of 2.5 million people on lifetime breakfast TV in my teenage bedroom in my mum and dad's house in Stoke-on-Trent? Sure. So I was super nervous for this, right? You know those nerves when you're feeling a bit sick, when you're like, oh my God, I'm really nervous, I'm really scared, I feel really, really sick. At this point, I'd been training confidence for a few years, so I was like pacing up and down. My mum's downstairs going, Kirsty, do you want a cup of tea? Mum, shh. So I'm like pacing, going, oh God, I'm really scared. And then suddenly this little voice in my head went, well, yeah. And I was like, oh, that's what I do. Well, yeah. Of course I was nervous for that. Of course I was nervous. It was scary. And so next time you're like, I'm nervous about pitching this idea to these senior stakeholders. Well, yeah. Next time you're like, I'm nervous at the thought of delivering that presentation to my team. Well, yeah. The next time you're nervous about standing on a stage. I heard you talking about it at breakfast. Well, yeah. Of course we get nervous. We get nervous for this stuff. Of course we do. We didn't evolve to stand on stages. We evolved to be very small, stay very still, and then we won't get eaten. There is nothing unique, there is nothing irrational about the fact that sometimes we get scared. It is our fundamental humanity. We tend to think that the opposite of nerves is confidence. I think the opposite of nerves is more akin to apathy. Imagine if I was about to stand on stage in front of you, take your time that you've trusted me with, and I bowled on going, don't care how it goes, actually. Like, of course I care. Okay, so, this was just a quick thing. Somebody basically got that tattooed on my hand, and it was weird. So, next time you're nervous, I want you to say, well, yeah. Can you do that for me? Lovely, thank you. At this point, somebody normally goes, well, yeah. Okay, so, last one, maybe the most important. Our language is a mess. A real mess. Campaign, strategy, tactics. I imagine you are going to hear those words a lot today. In fact, these are probably words you say all the time, right? Does anybody know where this language comes from? Business language comes from military strategy. And it's everywhere. Front lines, mission critical, guerrilla marketing. Do we have any CEOs in the room? Hello, officer. Yes, officer, chief technical officer, rank, promotion, demotion. All of our language comes from military strategy. Now, there's a theory called linguistic relativity that's really tried and tested, really evidence-based. Our language shapes our reality. Our language shapes how we feel about things. So I really believe, because we are constantly using militaristic language, we have internalized an idea that we're enemies. On some level, we've internalized we're against each other. We talk about winning and we talk about losing. We think more about victory than success. We move through the world going, oh my God, they're against me. They're not going to like me. And so we move through our business lives and our business environments going us versus them. I'm going to challenge this, though. Do you know who's a really, really nice person? You know who's a really nice person? Like most people. Most people. Basically, everyone is a really nice person. Yes, there's going to be the outliers. There's going to be that maybe 1% there's a bit of an arse. Most people have your back, I promise you. Most people want you to do well. Most people are rooting for you. Most people don't want you to fail. Most people, when you go into a meeting, are like, I like her hair. I hope she does a really great job. Like, most of us have busy, complex inner lives. Most of us have kids or families or complex relationships with our friends and our partners. We're all the same. So if you do anything today, please internalize this idea, because it's true that most people are kind, most people are empathetic, most people want you to do well. And when we move through the world knowing this, it makes it a much easier place to be. We are built to focus on the negative. We are built to tell ourselves that everybody else is going to judge us and scrutinize us and think negative things of us, because it tries and keeps us safe, but it doesn't work. And please take it from me that I spend my career talking to thousands and thousands of people about their hopes and their dreams, and we're good. Most of us are good. And when we can remember that, it makes it easier to connect. And that's kind of what we're all here for today. So you are not my enemy. You are my community. People on Twitter are not my enemy. You are my community. You are my peers. We're in this together. We are all in this together. And I also know that the more we judge others, the more we judge ourselves. The more we move through the world going, hate that, don't like that, don't like that, don't like that, the more we kind of think that's happening to us as well. Thank you so much. That's me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kirsty. Amazing again. You never let us down, so thank you so much. I'm going to turn to the audience now and see if anyone would like to ask Kirsty a question while she's here. Is anyone confident enough to ask a question?
Since the pandemic, I've started doing it again. Yeah, I was not doing stand-up on Zoom. But yeah, I started doing it again.
Okay.
I'll let you know if I'm ever in this part of town. I think there's one there.
Why do you think people are confident in different areas of life?
I've got the actual answer to this. It's because we develop confidence through experiences. I think Luke might be talking about this later. The more times we do something, the more confident we get in doing it. So it all comes from the experiences we have, the things we think we're good at. And also confidence feels different for different people. So some people lean into competency and go like, I'm a real expert, I'm knowledgeable in this. Whereas some people lean into kind of other strengths. And research has shown that every single person here is like really unique. Like our brains are as unique as our fingerprints. So we all arrive very different. We're all very, very different. And that's what makes this so good. So me, for example, I'm confident at this, but I don't have my ears pierced because I'm scared. Like, true. So we all are these like messy, mixed bags. So there are no rules on this stuff, I think. That would be, if that answers your question. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Great question. Any more questions before we move on to the next speaker? No, please, will be some prizes for you guys as well asking the questions, so thanks for that. Kirsty, thank you again. Please put your hands together.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Thank you.